AA, the Pac-12, and USC for compensation for using his name, image, and likeness while he played for the Trojans about 20 years ago.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
The game for Tuscaloosa's longest-running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best.
Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. And now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a big good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the weekend. Did everybody enjoy the weekend in the state of Alabama? I know you did. You did. Even Alabama fans enjoying the bye week. It's good to sit back, kick your feet up on the desk, and enjoy the weekend. Auburn fans, how you guys doing today? You guys having a good day? Good Monday? Did you walk into the office? Chest poked out a little bit, chin up, ready? Oh, bless your little heart. Did I just look at the score, 24-14? Arkansas, we called that on Friday that was a must-win game. Hugh Freeze did not win that game, and we're going to talk about some of that. We're going to talk about this Alabama-Georgia game, but if this is the show for you, the good moments of the weekend, the good moments had to be that score. Arkansas 24, Auburn 14. What a train wreck that is the Auburn program. And you even have family members that are now coming out going, well, maybe Hugh Freeze may not be the guy for the job. He may not be the guy for the job. Okay. And why didn't you go get a quarterback? Because in this NIL transfer portal era that we live in, if you're weak at a position coming out of spring break, then what do? You go fix it. You go try to find the correction, especially the program like Auburn, who claims to have this big NIL fund. Now when you start going through their schedule and you look at this Auburn schedule, look at it. Be an optimistic person. Be a guy that's half full rather than half empty. When you look at the schedule, go find 6 wins or go find 4 more wins. It's hard to do. I'll give you La Monroe, and I even put Vanderbilt, even though Vanderbilt's played much better football this year. I'll give you those. Now go find me 2 games that you can get to 6 wins and get to the Birmingham Bowl. It's going to be a hard road. Could this be the 4th losing season in a row across the state? It could be. We're going to talk about the big game. We've got Kaywan DeBoer audio clips we're going to dive into. We've got Drew DeArmond, Barrett Salib. Maybe he can help us explain what's going on down in the plains in Lee County. We'll talk with him coming up at 3:30. Martin Houston at 4. Got a big week for you. The anticipation of the gigantic game. A lot of things that we'll discuss, a lot of things that we'll talk about. We'll take some audio from Kaywan DeBoer. Jackson, let me know when that audio's ready. We're going to go to Kaywan DeBoer opening clips. When it's ready, is Kaywan DeBoer ready? Okay. Well, we'll get it here in just a couple seconds, so we'll work that way there because I thought he said some things. When you look at this game, that's why you come to the University of Alabama. That's why you have a chance to be in a position to come to the University of Alabama. You anticipate games like this, and this will be the first of many. I think when you look at Kaywan DeBoer, 12-2 against top 25 teams, but I also think when you look at Kirby Smart being 1-5 against the Alabama Crimson Tide, and I think when you look at revenge, could revenge play a role? It can absolutely play a role because when you look back at the Dogs, they were headed for 3 in a row, and they were going to go win a national title and be the first time in college football history to go out and win 3 national titles in a row. That'll be one of the things that we'll dive into. We'll talk about it. We'll take your reaction. The Good Moment sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com, the Nick Saban print that you can find. The legend. It's pretty awesome. DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. And we're offering a free shipping code just on that particular product with a code word Ryan, R-Y-A-N. And if you're looking for the calendar, we'll do those, continue the autograph editions for the same price as you would the regular editions. That code word on that product's The Game without a space. The Game altogether, The Game altogether. So we'll get Kaywan DeBoer audio. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. But one of the things that we'll dive into is we're going to ask you when you call in today as your confidence on this game. Where is your confidence throughout the weekend? Watching college football on a Monday at 2:06 in the afternoon. Where's your confidence for this Alabama-Georgia game? Vegas thinks, think about where we were at on Friday. There was a moment Friday morning where you could have called Las Vegas and you could have actually got a pick 'em. At Circa Sports, it was a pick 'em game. Now, that line has now moved back to Georgia is the favorite by about 1.5. We also talked with Lee Sterling about home field advantage between 3.5 and 4 points. So Vegas thinks that Georgia's the better football team. So we'll find out. Let all the naysayers know, as Kalen DeBoer was asked about that earlier today. Let's go to the Kalen DeBoer opening clips. Just real quick, just his opening comments, and then we'll dive back into different things here. But you give me a thumbs up when we're ready. Kalen DeBoer, opening comments about an hour and a half ago as he set the stage for this epic showdown between the Dogs and the Crimson Tide.
Getting into our SEC opener, so it's exciting for us and our program, and obviously with Georgia coming in here, a ton of respect for Coach Smart and everything he's accomplished in his career, and obviously they're at Georgia with all the success they've had, and so good to be playing at home. We need our crowd, our fans, to bring the energy, and obviously we got to do our part to make it exciting and make sure that there's things to cheer for. So looking forward to a great atmosphere and an awesome weekend for our program. So bye week, you get a chance to get some guys healthy, and so that was good. Even maybe not guys that are you're noticing maybe being out. It's just guys that got dings and going through practice and just doing everything they can and end up on the field on Saturdays. So it was good from that aspect to get a few days for getting healthier there. So, but yeah, looking forward to a great week of practice. Shouldn't be any problem. It hasn't been a problem of trying to have energy from our guys, and that certainly shouldn't be the case this week. I know that.
Tickets going for a rapid pace when you look at the price of tickets, get you in the door. I'm talking about average. No, not even average. Bad seats, over $300. If you want to set somewhere down on the lower level, I mean, let's just go through an example. If you want to sit on the 50-yard line, about $1,000. If you want to set a little bit lower to one side, like back out towards the 40s, then you're going to pay $600 to $700 lower level. In the corner of the end zone, $672. Here's one for $594. If you want to set in the zone, it costs you about $1,100. Please don't sell them to Georgia fans. Please. You don't need the money that bad. Upper deck, $400, $300, $400, $300. I mean, I'm just going through. What's a student ticket cost you, Jackson? That's where I was going.
Yeah, that's where I figured you were going. So the cheapest I've seen a student-to-student ticket sell right now, $450. That's for student section. It's student to student. The highest.
Isn't there like a point system that will hurt you? So how does that work?
The student ticket system works so you can only transfer student ticket to another student.
Okay.
The point system works in order to get your initial student ticket package. So if you have enough loyalty points, you'll be awarded that first round, which is most likely a full home slate ticket package.
Okay.
And then if you are on the lower end, you get to pick between half home games and half home games.
All right. See, I was a student. They paid us to go to the games. We were not very good. We were outside of the Alabama on the outside of the bus. Inside of the bus didn't remind you a lot of Alabama.
Well, you do kind of get paid with the point system.
Well, no. I'm talking about from a standpoint of yeah, we were so bad. We were really not very good. So, like I said, the outside of the bus was Alabama. Inside of the bus, it was not Alabama. We watched inferior teams beat us quite often. So I don't even think we were ever as bad as the team across the state from a, fourth losing season in a row. If that's what happens here, we're not that bad, but we were bad compared to Alabama standards. So we would buy, and here's the season ticket package. It was $40. $40. It would get you all the season tickets for the student package. So I think there were $4 or $5 a game, whatever it was, 7-8 games, whatever you do the math. But it was not very much.
It was $120 for my full package.
University. turn into a for-profit organization.
Well, what's even crazier is that the away games, those are allotted based on that point system. So if you have more points, you'll actually be awarded the away tickets. The LSU away game student ticket was $160.
Have you also looked ahead to, and this is just a random thought, have you thought about looking for this weekend, like go to your favorite travel website and go and look at what hotel rooms are going for in Tuscaloosa?
It's
like
insane.
You can get bed bugs with your room or without your room for about $600-700 a night. Yeah. I mean, like there's places I wouldn't let my enemies stay, and they are getting. I didn't even know that price gouging was legal, but I guess it is. Like I'm looking at some of the places I would not let anybody that I knew that would call me up and say, and I'm not going to say these on the air, but from a recommendation standpoint, if somebody called me up and said, hey, give me the places not to stay, those are $500 and $600 an evening. Okay. If you want to go and get something that is somewhat respectable, that you know that you're not going to have to fight your way to your room or trip over a roach bug to get to your room, you're gonna pay, and most of those have already sold out. I was looking earlier this weekend, and it just so happens, like, I mean, here's a really good place, right? $1,000 a night, $1,400 an evening. Nick Saban's Alamont Hotel in downtown Tuscaloosa, $1,799 with a 2-night minimum. That'll bring you a total about $3,600. So Nick Saban's making. Is it that AC Hotels by Marriott, or is he actually the Alamont? I think he's the Alamont.
I think he's the
okay.
Alamont.
Well, they don't even have
Texas
a room.
Tony will pay for a room like that?
Texas Tony is actually renting out his rooms. So if you want to contact
Smart.
Texas Tony, that would actually be the smart thing to do. I mean, in the current economy that we live in, let somebody come rent out your house and you go to the beach or the mountains or Birmingham or go over to maybe a little city that's outside. That'd be the trick to do it if you're willing to turn over your keys to somebody. But I'm sure Airbnbs are quite expensive. Drew Yarman coming up in just a couple of minutes. We'll do that. Hey, just got the report. Gonzaga. The Zags are leaving or considering. It is leaving the West Coast Conference to join the Pac-12 despite not having a football team, according to Brett McMurphy. That's just now coming. Actually, I was talking to Drew on my way driving back home, and he brought that to my attention and said, hey, look for this, might be a possibility. So he's spot on. We'll get more K1 DeBoer audio. We even get Kirby Smart. I don't listen to Kirby Smart a lot often, but what a boring press conference. We're talking about put you to sleep. I listen to 30 minutes, and that's because you don't have to, because it is dry as a bone. I mean, it is.
He wants to make sure we Bama people don't listen.
Yeah, his press conference, when you look at Kirby's press conference, we're talking about it is, we're playing a game. Alabama. Saturday. He doesn't give you anything.
Does it remind you of old Saban interviews?
No. Saban on his worst day is better than what I listened to earlier from Kirby Smart. It was dry as a bone. Like there was one clip in there that I could possibly use around Kirby bragging on Jalen Milroe, talking about a mobile quarterback and how hard that is to defend and how Jalen Milroe can do things. He said it's almost better when you cover all of their guys or you give some flexibility of not being covered. He said when you cover all of their guys, it becomes a disadvantage because then he's going to take off and run. So he said it's almost like, that was really the only comment that I could even somewhat use, but it was dry. Slim pickings over in Athens, Georgia. And even the question about, one of his players, once again, having a situation with law enforcement. He talked about how I'm disappointed. That was pretty much his comment. I'm disappointed. Well, we are. On this, I gave him credit as we were going into the break. Him and I were having a little talk. I appreciate Drew for giving me this insight. He said that he thought that Gonzaga would leave and go to the Pac-12, and according to Brett McMurphy 16 minutes ago, the Zags will leave the West Coast Conference and head to the Pac-12, even though they do not have a football program. But we're not going to recap too much of that. I'll just give Drew credit for that. Drew D, 977 ESPN. Drew D. Arman, I hope you're having a great Monday, certainly better than the Auburn Tiger fans. I hope all is well.
Yeah, it's great, Ryan, no doubt. It's the first day of basketball practice for Alabama. They've already taken the floor, but the big event is, of course, why President Trump, and he is the president, is going to be in Tuscaloosa, and it's why the epicenter of college football will be at the Capstone, because Alabama and Georgia are going to hook up yet again with a lot at stake. College football playoff positioning, SEC positioning, and who knows, man, it could be the first of 2 to even 3 meetings between these two titans. And certainly in Nick Saban's first 8 or 9 years, it was defined the SEC with Alabama and LSU. But really since 2017, the second year of, Kirby Smart, it's been Alabama, Georgia. So looking forward to the next chapter in the first for Kalen DeBoer. Why
do you think it is, other than Alabama just being so good, that Alabama's Kirby Smart's kryptonite? I mean, he's got a record that's, pretty crazy when you look at other SEC opponents. But when you start breaking it down, against the, Alabama, he's 1-5. But if you look at other opponents over the course of time, I mean, we could even go back to, over the last 3 seasons, he's 40-0 against other opponents. He's 1-2 against Alabama. Why do you think it is?
Well, I just think in most cases the old adage is true. The student is never as good as the teacher. Now, the fascinating part about this is the teacher is finally retired. So many believe that Kirby is going to be the man and that he will start beating Alabama, and taking care of the Crimson Tide, and Georgia will be the new, king on the block, and will be the new Alabama, will be the heavyweight champion. I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss Alabama. I think they certainly have hired a great head coach in their own right, and I think they've hired someone that has already had playoff success like he has at Washington, and taken a program without the history and the tradition and the resources of Alabama and nearly won a national championship. But hey, you have to prove it on the biggest stage, and the biggest stage is in the SEC. Certainly, he's already proven, with his overall college record, that he can win championships on the NAIA level, so to speak, and then of course championships, conference championships, in the Pac-12, and get and reach the college football playoff. But he hasn't won a national championship at the highest level. And until he does, because that's how Alabama's judged, then certainly going into this, that's why I think Georgia's a slight favorite. If Nick Saban were the head coach, Alabama would be a 4 or 5 point favorite in this game. But he's not the head coach. And so since Kalen DeBoer has never, competed against Kirby Smart, he's never beaten the Georgia Bulldogs, then, the Dogs are – it's funny. It's kind of just continued to go down. I think when, Coach Saban first retired, I think the spread was 7 to 7.5. And then as the summer has gone on, it's gone down. Now it had gotten down to 3. Now it's gotten down to 2.5, and now 1.5. So it's really nearly a pick-em in Tuscaloosa. And when you see both these teams play, it's understandable. I think you got 2 of the 3 or 4 most talented rosters in college football, and certainly Georgia has not given up a touchdown all year, only 4 field goals. You've got against Kentucky, and then a field goal against Clemson. I believe I want to say they shut out Tennessee Tech. So their defense has been unbelievable, but Alabama's offense has continued to get better each week and show a lot of explosiveness, and got experience back at quarterback in their own right and in a lot of the skill spots. And they have a freshman in Ryan Magic Williams. I know he's nicknamed Hollywood Tuscaloosa, but I call him Magic. That's been every bit as good as everyone thought he may be. So it's just a fascinating matchup between 2, Ali Frazier type heavyweights, and can't wait to see it on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa.
Drew, I want to go into a couple different things. What if Alabama happens to win this game? And do you feel that the pressure is on Georgia? Because first-year head coach Kalen DeBoer, if he won, it would be a momentum slingshot into the remaining part of the season. But for Georgia, because of this kryptonite, Alabama's weakness, or Alabama is their kryptonite. If they happen to lose this game, I mean, could you imagine the meltdown from the Dog fans?
Well, I mean, certainly there's more pressure on Georgia because they are expected to be the heavyweight champion. And I know they're not ranked number one right now, really, I guess, Texas, but they've been ranked number one for the majority of the summer and for this season so far. And they're expected by many to still win the SEC. So certainly I think the pressure is on them. But make no mistake, there's always pressure at Alabama. I mean, think about it. I mean, there were people panicking that they could not, that Alabama, was going to lose to South Florida. And even when they beat South Florida 42-16, there were people that weren't satisfied with it and were already worried about the Georgia game. So Alabama's a different kind of pressure. It always has been, but I think Kalen DeBoer is very comfortable in his own skin, and I think we know that he's going to have his team prepared, though, and that I still think, yes, most of the pressure is on Georgia, but there's pressure on both sides. This rivalry is always going to be a big one, and looking forward to seeing how it plays out in the first chapter under Kalen DeBoer when Kirby Smart faces Alabama under different leadership.
Who do you think is going to win this game?
I've got Alabama winning this game 24-20. I think Alabama has got an explosive offense they do some things with the wide receivers, with Ryan Williams able to get vertical, with Jeremy Bernard able to get vertical, even Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law are capable of it. I think Alabama's offensive line is starting to gel. They've gotten Caden Proctor back healthy. They certainly have gotten, Elijah Pritchett back and at right tackle. I think that sets up well against a very physical Georgia front, and they're going to have to be very physical on the offensive line. I think Alabama has a much more dynamic running attack, and it's right. Last year, Jace McCullough and Roydell Williams were extremely, solid, and they did their jobs. But again, these Jam Miller and Justice Haynes are much more explosive. You've got a better tight end room with Josh Cuevas to go with C.J. Dupree. And then on the defensive side, certainly it's a new scheme, but you've got L.T. Overton, who I think is just even better than Justin Aboigbe so far. And I think Tim Smith's a year older. Certainly, they need a breakout game from some of the other pieces along that defensive line. No question about it. Honestly, we haven't really seen him break out, but they need a big game from Jaheim Otis. I think if he would break out and play to his capabilities, it would really benefit Alabama. And then you need Tim Keenan to keep doing what he's doing. Because I'll be honest with you, that's my biggest key to the game, because I know Georgia is going to play much better offensively than they did against Kentucky, and they're going to test Alabama's oil. They're going to check Alabama out. They are definitely going to challenge them physically. And Freddie Roach's defensive line has been good at times, and then at times maybe hasn't played with as much consistency. They're going to have to play their best game of the season to beat Georgia, because Alabama's defensive line needs to play well, because that back end is talented in the secondary, but hasn't seen an opponent like the Dogs in a game like this, and it's very, very young.
All right, Drew, let's go to the topic that probably is be the dominant one here in Tuscaloosa when you look at Hugh Freeze across the state not having a good weekend. Your reaction to Arkansas beating the Tigers?
Well, it was poor quarterback play again for Auburn. Hank Brown, his first SEC start, he wasn't ready for it. I mean, 7 of 13, 72 yards, 3 picks. I mean, he talked about dominating Arkansas. He was not ready for the SEC. I thought Peyton Thorne, in all honesty, handled himself well. He didn't play great, but he didn't play terribly. The interception he threw was really off Cam Coleman's hands. He needs to make that play, help out his quarterback. He did throw a touchdown on 4th down to DeAndre Lambert-Smith of about 68 yards that kept Auburn in the game. So he did what he needed to do, but then I thought Auburn was undisciplined sometimes on defense. They got a roughing the passer call that extended a drive that allowed Arkansas to score. Then it's 3rd and 19. Now, wasn't 4th and 31, but it was 3rd and 19. They flushed the quarterback. They allow him to throw a deep ball 58 yards for a touchdown. Got to get off the field there. If you make those 2 or 3 plays, then I think, and Auburn also fumbled going into the end zone with Kamari Alston. If those 2 or 3 plays go Auburn's way, then Auburn wins this game. There's not nearly as much grind into the teeth, but Auburn has found a way to lose games lately, and that's been a big issue for the Tigers. And right now, Hugh Freeze is supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. I've never thought he was. I think he's a good play caller. I think he's a really good recruiter, but I'm not sure he's a great game day coach. His team looks poorly coached to me, and his quarterbacks aren't getting better. And he made a big mistake in this NIL era, not going out and upgrading at the quarterback position, thinking that he just needed to upgrade around, the offense around the QB. And they did with a lot of new receivers. 7 of the top 9 are new or along the receiver group. They went out and got a left tackle, though I don't think they got the right guy in Percy Lewis. And then their defensive line has been decent but not great. Keldrick Falk is really the only guy playing super winning football there. And their secondary lost a lot of talent, which hasn't been replaced. And so, I think overall they've had some injuries as well. They lost, one of their top DBs, on Saturday to a leg injury. The Anthony kid that's really going to hurt him because he was coming on. So right now, this game coming up, this is probably going to decide whether Auburn has a winning season or not if they can beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma and Auburn are kind of mirror images of each other, except I think OU's defense is playing a little bit better than Auburn, but Auburn has the home field, but neither is getting consistent quarterback play. And so this is going to be a very interesting game on the Plains as Auburn doesn't even have a home game the entire month of October. And we've seen in the last 2 to 3 years how Auburn struggled on the road. So the Tigers really need to step up right here or their season could be on the brink, and it could be 4 straight losing seasons, which hasn't happened since they had 5 straight from 1946 through 1950.
What do you think about Bo Wallace calling Hugh Freeze out? I know that's been a big reaction about it all over social networks. And certainly if you go back to Hugh Freeze's comments, he is kind of threw his players under the bus, and we're kind of accustomed to Nick Saban always taking the blame. Regardless if it was the player's fault, he would always take the responsibility. Hugh Freeze did not do that following that game.
No, and if you follow Hugh Freeze, Bo Wallace pointed out he did the same thing at Ole Miss, and and if they didn't get the result they wanted, which didn't happen very often, he wanted a very high clip at Liberty. It's the same thing. It's kind of a narcissistic quality that Hugh Freeze has. He's certainly been successful at times at Ole Miss, but when things didn't go his way, you heard it when they didn't go to the SEC championship game in 2015. All he could lament was, well, we beat Alabama, but, we should have been there. But then remember how they lost against Arkansas in that crazy ending, all the laterals from the Hogs where they ended up upsetting Ole Miss because Ole Miss didn't finish. And then, when you look back at what he said this summer to Marty and McGee in Dallas, he said, well, we've really had a lot of success against Nick Saban. We should have beat him 4 times. Well, if it hadn't been for some, unbelievable, breaks and some luck and some bounces for Ole Miss, they could have lost all 4 of them. So he certainly beat Nick Saban twice, but, some of the things he says, it's usually about himself. It's usually not about his players and coaches and giving them a lot of credit. It's usually all about him, and that's all Bo Wallace did was point that out, and he took a lot of heat for it. But when you break down what Hugh Freeze said even after the game, he was just basically trying to defend the quarterbacks, including himself, that played for him and kind of what they've gone through. Certainly Hugh is recruiting at a very high clip at Auburn, and that's something Brian Harsin didn't do. And so I don't think right now that Hugh Freeze's seat is hot. But if they don't turn it around and don't get better, certainly it'll be scorching going into year 3 on the
All right. So let me spin a scenario. What would it take to get Hugh Freeze's seat hot?
Well, what it would take was if they go 4-8 or somewhere around there and they get blown out by Alabama and Tuscaloosa, then his seat would certainly be hot. If you're talking about back-to-back losing seasons to start your time in Auburn, Brian Harsin had 2 losing seasons and was gone. Now, Brian Harsin wasn't bringing in the talent that Hugh Freeze has. They need to keep that recruiting class together, which is right now top 5 in the country, and then they have a really good class started in 2026. but you got to win some football games, and you got to appear well coached, because we've all seen how recruiting momentum can wane. By this time last year, Billy Napier had a top 5 class, but when Florida ended up with a losing record, it ended up in the top 12 to 15. They lost several members of that class and barely hung on to DJ Lagway, the top young quarterback. So recruiting can change quickly. Momentum can change quickly. And that's why Auburn needs to beat Oklahoma on Saturday inside Jordan-Hare, because if you're 2-3 after your first month of this season and you're not going to be at home for a whole month of October, it's not looking promising for Auburn to have a winning season. I thought they would be better, turn it around. They still could, but the early returns in the first 4 games has not been good for Auburn.
Jordy Armand, I appreciate you. Make sure you fill up before you get to Tuscaloosa. I'm just kidding, but even gas is going to be a premium down here. I mean, this town is going to be busting at the seams. Ticket prices, hotel prices. I was just reading some of the hotel prices going into your segment. If you want to stay where it doesn't include the bed bugs and a free breakfast, going to be about $1,100-$1,200 an evening. If you want to stay with some bed bugs, it'll cost you about $475. If you bring a sleeping bag, it's going to cost you quite a bit as well. So it's a premium weekend here in Tuscaloosa. I appreciate you, man. I'll see you this weekend. Always. Thank you, man. Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone.
In Lee County.
Okay. Well,
the good was 24-14. Okay. The bad was Hugh Hunter Hefner Freeze throwing his whole football team basically under the bus, backing over them, making sure they were, if anybody wasn't maimed, he put it in first and drove back over them. What a fraud.
Now, Paul, I want you to reflect on some audio. Hugh Freeze met with members of the media today. By the way, they did not even ask any questions about Bo Wallace. None. Zero. Phillip didn't stand up and say, hey, what about Bo Wallace? Nobody asked him about Bo Wallace, okay, which was probably the pressing topic around the country. But listen, Paul and Hugh Freeze say that how much his Auburn team has improved. Listen to Hugh Freeze talk about his Auburn team.
The most disappointing thing is when you have to sit before the great fans that you work for and the administration you work for, and you've lost 2 football games that were winnable games, and that stinks, and it's no fun, and it's it's hard to take. It's just one thing to get beat, and that happens sometimes, and certainly not lessening Arkansas. So, man, congratulations to Coach Pittman. He did a great job in rebuilding his team through the portal, and got some great additions there, and they're playing really solid football. But certainly it was a game we felt like was winnable, and when you don't come through and get that, it stinks, and I understand it and get it and hate it. Having said that, there's no better staff that I'd rather be with in the fire or players, and looking forward to going back to work and getting prepared for a very, very difficult opponent in Oklahoma, who has one of the best defenses I've seen in a while. They really are so multiple and can run and hit and strike and.
Turn it off. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I was going to play it a little bit more. My hair stands up on my arms when I hear him talk. He's such a fraud. I'm sorry, Paul.
He is an absolute fraud.
Oh.
No, that's fine. He's a shyster. He's one of the biggest shysters that's ever been. He is worse than a used car salesman. You hear me? And this couldn't happen to a better program than the Lee County Bugs. They hired a human trafficker, okay, to be their head coach, to be the face of the program. What do you expect? And then to add insult to injury, you got Bojangles Wallace, who just goes scorched earth on Hugh Hefner, Hunter Harsin. I mean, big time. I mean, and listen, that's somebody that played for him. He recruited him and he played for him. And I don't know if anybody heard this or read it. He said if he had a son, there's no way he would let him play No way he let him play for Hugh Hefner.
That is going to be used by opposing coaches. I'm not saying which ones, but that will be used on the recruiting trail. They'll print that one out, and they'll frame it and hand it to people that they're competing against or competing with Auburn to get. They will hand that to recruits' parents and says, here you go. The rumor is no longer a rumor. Here's a former quarterback. It would be like, I don't know, Jacob Coker calling out Nick Saban and Nick Saban still in coaching or whoever. I mean, pick out a quarterback.
Of course. Yes.
That's not Paul and Lincoln or Ron saying that. That's a former Ole Miss quarterback.
That's a former player. Yeah. That's a former player. What you talking about an indictment?
And nobody asked about it. Nobody in the Auburn press room asked about it today.
Exactly, because they're as bad as the Kamala Harris media. Types. They're not going to ask the tough questions. What a disgusting human being Hugh Freeze is. He's disgusting. And the ugly part of everything, after 17 games, the Boise Bandit had a 9-8 record. His first 17 games in Lee County with 20 turnovers. Hugh Hefner Hunter Freeze after 17 games is 8 wins and 9 losses with, catch it, 34 turnovers. 34 turnovers.
Worst team in the country. In turnovers.
Listen, he is. He is a joke. I mean, listen, I know I can't stand Lee County, but what a disgusting human being this clown is. I mean, and to throw his team under the bus, and the way he acted on the sideline, are you kidding me? He jumped up like a little crying. I can't say the word, but he was jumping up and down like somebody took his pacifier from him. I mean, just berating the officials and like that was going to do something. He's a joke. He's a total scumbag. And listen, that's a marriage made in hell. Lee County and Hugh Hefner Hunter Freeze. Okay. What a joke that program is. That program is going nowhere. There's no buzz. There's no juice. It's a big zero.
What's Hugh Freeze's buyout? Do you know?
I'm not. I don't know. I really don't.
I mean, I'm sure there's a moral clause. I mean, you wouldn't have signed a contract with him. 75% of his remaining contract is paid to him. He's currently at 6.5 annually, which is somewhat low in the world of college football with big-time coaches. 75% of his contract would be paid, so it would just join the – I mean, they're still paying Pat Daz contract off, are they not? Coaches lifetime contracts down there.
Oh, I'm telling you what, you go to Auburn, you're set for life, even if they do fire you. Ryan, this guy's a joke, man. I'm telling you, he's a joke. He's a shyster. I forgot what I was going to say something else, but
I think you covered it.
It's
yeah.
Well, he's terrible, man. And listen. After Oklahoma gets through with him, after Georgia gets through with him, after Missouri gets through with him, and after Kentucky gets through with him, I mean, that would be, that's 2 and 6. That'd be 2 and 6, Ryan.
You know, you and I played the win-loss game on Friday with those guys when we went through because we said it was a must-win. We said Arkansas was a must-win if they wanted to make the Birmingham Bowl.
Right.
I'm not sure they can get to 6 wins. I mean, you've got to stretch to get to 6 wins. You've got to stretch. What if Vanderbilt came to their place? Because at that point of the season, you don't know where that team will be mentally. They may have already checked out. I mean, if he's going to call his players the way he called them out, they may have already checked out. They may be gone.
Like Benjamin Washington and Chris Doering on the SEC Now, the post-game edition, Doering looked in the camera and said, "Hey, you Auburn fans, it's time to panic." Ben Washington said he was on a team where the coach went in a press conference and threw the team under the bus, just started berating some of his players. He said that split that locker room in two. He said what Hugh Hefner Hunter Freeze did Saturday after that game will split a locker room quicker than anything. And anybody that thinks if he goes 2-6 to start the season, anybody that thinks he can hold this recruiting class together, I've got some beachfront property down in 5 Points south in Birmingham to sell you.
Yeah. Well, does it come with sand or without? I'm just kidding, but it's yeah. Hey, Paul, real quick, give me your confidence on a Monday before the Georgia game.
I'm pretty confident, Ryan. We're not going to see the same Georgia that played Kentucky.
No,
I think we can all agree with that.
Kentucky did us. They did us no favors in exposing the Dogs.
No. And also, not that really Kirby cares, but he will certainly use it as motivation of flip-flopping them in Texas from 1 to 2 and 2 to 1. He'll use that as motivation. But I'll go more into it tomorrow. But I think this is going to be a Jalen Milroe game. I think we're gonna.
I think you're spot
We're gonna
on.
live and die with Jalen.
You're spot on. Paul, don't get arrested in your neighborhood aggravating those bugs, man.
Well, that's where I'm at. I'm screaming to the top of my lungs, and I got bugs on both sides of me of their houses. I can see it, but I don't care. They got a fraud for a coach. They root for a fraud program. Right, but really and truly, it's basketball season now down in Lee County.
Well, it is. Basketball practice started today here in Tuscaloosa, and I'm sure it started across the state. Paul, have a great rest of your day, man. Thank you. Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Let's go to Robert in Mobile. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
I tell you, Paul and Lincoln, under Hugh Hefner free. I get a kick out of it every time.
Hey, it just rolls off his tongue, man. I mean, it's brilliant. And he came up with that name all on his own.
Auburn is officially in the bottom feeding contest of the SEC. You know, I guess he would divide them into quartiles now. You know, we got the Q1, Q2s, Q3s, and the Q4, the quartiles. Top 4 teams, middle 4 teams, Q2, middle 4 teams, 3 teams, and bottom 4 teams, and that's where Auburn is right now. So they're in there with Vanderbilt, who's trying to claw their way out of the Q4, but they couldn't quite make it. And they go to Mississippi State and to Florida, and they've dropped down to Q4. Of course, Q1s are Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and who's the 4th team? Texas and
Ole Miss. Tennessee.
I'll put Tennessee in Q1 and Ole Miss in Q2 just barely. But that'll fluctuate either way. But yeah, Auburn's definitely in Q4. But like we said Friday, that was must win. And if you lose it, this season's going to get away from you pretty quick. And I think you guessed rattled off for the whole entire month of October without a home game. There's no way you're surviving that. With this team, no chance. I've been getting a kick out of all the Auburn fans and their defeatist attitude right now. Of course, I've been dragging all the ones in the job.
I mean, think about 4 weeks into the season, they went from Heisman hopeful to college football playoff dark horse, taking a double-digit win season and flipping the script. I mean, really, be honest with us. We should go back and record the audio where people literally told us that Peyton Thorne could be a Heisman hopeful.
Wow.
No, I mean, we were making fun of it last week, but it was true. I mean, they literally said Peyton Thorne, and then we had Hammer and Hank Heisman Brown come out, and he threw for 3 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, that ended pretty quick. Yeah.
And do you know where it's turned, Robert? And I, as a Christian, I'm bothered that I have to say this, but you know where it's turned now? Anytime Auburn has chaos, they turn to God. No, I mean sarcastically, I don't believe it, but now it's all about religion. It's about saving players, and I'm all about saving players. If you can keep somebody from going to hell, all great. But it's like a rebuttal to losing. We don't hear about it until they start losing, and then all of a sudden it is, hey, man, we're saving them left and right down here. And I'm going... it was the same thing with Cadillac. What did happen with Cadillac Williams, but also happened with Cam Newton when that group started, when they paid players when it was illegally, and they started going, well, but we're accomplishing big things on the religion front down here.
Yeah, I've even heard some of these Auburn podcasts that they're vaunted advantage in Jordan Hare. They're starting to see that starting to slip away from them. I think Jalen Miro has exercised the voodoo dolls and Jordan Hare, and then it's going because they're like as someone pointed out, they've lost like what 4 out of 6 or something in Jordan Hare.
It is. Well, I mean, this would be the 4th losing season in a row. This would be the 4th losing season in a row. They have 3 right now. If you want to go back to 2020, which was the COVID year, they were 6-5. So it wasn't like that was a 10-win season. They were 6-5, losing season. And Robert, even the most optimistic view, it's hard to get this Auburn Tiger team to 6 wins. You got to go beat somebody that you're not supposed to beat.
Yeah, I saw you even giving them Vandy and some other
La Monroe. I'll give you La Monroe. There's 3. Find me 3 other teams. You got to go beat. You either got to beat Oklahoma this weekend. You got to go beat Missouri on the road. That's not happening. You got to go beat Georgia on the road. That's not happening. You got to go beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa. That's not happening. Go find me 3 wins.
Yeah, it's not happening. Well, again, it was a must-win last weekend. If you don't win that,
we said it. We said it right here on this show that it was a must-win. It wasn't just me; it was the callers. We talked about it. You must beat Arkansas. This was a must-win game if you were going to make the Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's gone. Hey, real quick, what you said about confidence? Definitely confidence in Milroe. It's everybody around him that we don't know yet. It's ironic. We know what Milroe can do against Georgia. He's done it. We don't know how the coach is going to handle Georgia. He hasn't done it yet. Don't know how the receivers are going to handle Georgia, including the Williams. He hasn't had to do it yet. So it's kind of, I got a lot of confidence in Milroe. There's everybody around him. Can they step up to the plate? We know Milroe can do it. He's done it. He stepped up to the plate. He's beaten Georgia. So, his experience is going to help us out a whole lot. I would have a lot less confidence if Milroe wasn't starting. But with him starting to have a lot of confidence, and I think he'll be able to carry the team over. Rewatched the game against Wisconsin. He definitely threw a lot better underneath. If he sort of learns to master that, he can definitely improve his draft stock and all that. But you have a lot of confidence in Milroe, and I think we'll win. And we just be interested to see how everybody plays around.
All right, I want to take you back because you're a stats guy. We're all about confidence intervals. Okay, let's go back to the game of the SEC title game where Georgia was trying to win 3 in a row. They would go beat Alabama. I have no doubt that they would have went on and won a national title. I know Michigan was a pretty good football team, but Georgia, it was almost like they lulled themselves to sleep. Are you more confident in this game than you was that game, or were you more confident then than you are now?
Ironically, I was more confident then.
Really?
Because of all the doubters. There was right now. There's let all the naysayers know. It's kind of a weird thing because there's not a whole lot of naysayers left, especially after the Wisconsin game. After the USF game, maybe. But like you said, Missouri didn't do us a favor by, giving Georgia a nail biter like that. Now they've got the anti-rat poison for the last 2 weeks.
Well, and if Alabama beats Georgia, you will not be able to find a naysayer. You won't be able to find any. Zero.
I think they have to care.
I mean, they're down to single digits. Yeah, they're down to single digits now. But you won't be able to find one if Alabama beats Georgia Saturday evening inside Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
And they'll have to carry the curse of the number 1 team, I think, because it'll be ridiculous to keep Texas over Alabama if they beat Georgia. I mean, which I hope they do. It'd be great for us if they did that, but it would be really ridiculous if you go off body of word to keep Texas over Alabama if they beat Georgia. That's number 1 team.
Yeah, and Texas plays Mississippi State this weekend, so maybe, but I mean, I think it would have to be a convincing win to leapfrog from 4-1. And I don't know if you can jump from 4-1.
These polls aren't real then. Well, they never are.
Well,
I mean,
they're novelty polls. They're novelty polls.
Yeah,
It's the same thing as you go to a service station, you buy a novelty product. You're not expecting it to really work. You're just expecting to get to the car and, the lights will flash or whatever the little things that you buy it's a novelty. It's a novelty poll. They're worthless other than when we get to November, September, October, they help TV ratings. That's really what they're designed for.
And they do. Yeah, they do.
Number one against number four. Number two against number four. Whatever it is. I mean, that's what it's.
Yeah, they're not totally meaningless, but when you get 1, 2, and 3, when that is close, it's 1A, 1B, 1C, whatever. All right, man.
Hey, Roll Tide. Thank you, Robert in Mobile. Let's go to Stephen in Raleigh, North Carolina. Stephen, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Roll Tide, Ryan. How are you this Monday?
Oh, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? Grab the coffee, half and half tea, and let it rip.
I'd rather talk Alabama, but I will talk Auburn for a second because I do.
Well, see, you don't live in this state, Stephen. I know you probably got buddies, but man, I
lived there long enough, Ryan.
We have rode them hard all weekend. My Auburn friends, they don't even respond to I actually got one to respond to my text messages over the weekend. He goes, "We don't have a quarterback." I said, "Well, what happened? What happened?"
You heard it all summer. I'm sure you heard it all summer.
I know we did.
In Huntsville all summer from your Auburn friends, from your Auburn church members, this, that, and the other, about how great they were going to be under the second year under Hugh Hefner-Freeze. And reality, it smacked them right in the face that, Ryan, if they finish below 500, which I believe is a certainty at this point, that recruiting class is just going to fall apart.
It will,
Ryan.
yeah. But come on, I mean, what would you have to pay someone to go to Auburn right now? Like if you're a quarterback, Stephen, and you say, I'm going to go play for Hugh Freeze, what would it cost you? It would be more
Robbie
than the
Ashford
market
over
value.
in South Carolina. Robbie Ashford got the heck out of Auburn. He goes over to South Carolina and sits behind the starter over there and then he comes in to a game and leads them to, he lost the LSU game, but he didn't lose that game. He comes in, starts this week, former Auburn quarterback, and then leads them to victory. And if I'm sitting there looking at him, and I don't even want to say this. If I were an Auburn fan, I would be like, what the heck? This guy was on our team. So I don't know. Ryan.
Let me check. I'm going to check the Heisman favorites and see if Peyton Thorne's back on here. But nobody believed in Peyton Thorne other than Auburn fans. Nobody believed in Peyton Thorne, but they try to convince us that Jalen Milroe was second fiddle to this guy.
I believe you just speaking. Forget about Auburn for a second. I'm changing the subject because Ryan, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Caller-driven show, right?
We are caller friendly. Yes, we are. So talk to me. Let's go back to confidence.
You just asked Robert in Mobile a great question. Did you have more confidence in last December in Alabama beating Georgia, or do you have more confidence now? Ryan, there was no way in heck I thought we were beating them last December before the game. Did you expect? We actually talked to you. We weren't expecting to beat Georgia before that SEC.
No, if I remember correctly, I went off the air without giving my prediction on a Friday, and I did it on purpose because I didn't want to pick against Alabama. It was, did I think that Alabama could win? Yeah. Did I think they were going to? No, I didn't.
No. I'm the same way. I'm the same boat as you are, Ryan. Thought they could win, but I wasn't expecting them to. And
because that was not a great Nick Saban coach team last year.
No, when you look at let's play it out then and now. Look at the run. Would you take those two running backs over these two running backs?
No.
Would you take a wide receiver core without Ryan Williams over this wide receiver core?
Zero. And would I take a Kalen DeBoer over Tommy Rees, a Nick Sheridan over Tommy Rees? every day, I would take this offense over that. I mean, they're at least using the strengths of the player.
The left tackle then or now. I'm taking him now versus then. You know?
But if you flip the question and you look at Georgia and their skill spots, they may be more talented last year than they are this year.
Maybe nothing, Ryan. They are more talented last year than they were this year. There's what's the tight end that went to playing for the Raiders?
Yeah,
now?
Brock Bowers.
There's no Brock Bowers walking through that stadium. There's not going to be a Brock Bowers in the fail room on Saturday.
Hey, by the way, Chip Towers is reporting that Georgia currently is practicing, and the speakers are Sweet Home Alabama. That's blasting throughout the Georgia practice. They're getting ready for this crowd noise that's going to be here in Tuscaloosa.
Stuff like that only works until you kick it off, Ryan.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
just trying to get ready for the crowd noise.
Get ready for the crowd noise, right?
Yeah.
Right. But, have you seen all the players they're listing as hurt?
Yeah, but now, okay, keep in mind, let's get to Wednesday to the official SEC, because this is our first SEC official home game or official SEC game. We'll have an injury report. Let's get to then, because I know how Kirby, because I followed Nick Saban for 17 years, they never wanted to give you anything about injuries.
But Ryan, it's almost like like Kirby is setting up the excuses for when he loses.
He's
going to lose he's going to lose in Bryant-Denny State. We all know who Kirby is. Kirby runs the Nick Saban. Kirby runs the Nick Saban offense from 10 years ago, Ryan. He never even evolved.
That's a fair comment. I mean, there's a lot of ways that it reminds you. But the other part, if you want to get worried at it from an Alabama perspective, Alabama gave up a lot of rushing yards against Wisconsin.
In one drive, yeah, they did.
But in a lot of ways, we talked about Kentucky doing doing Georgia a favor. Wisconsin may have done Alabama a favor. Showed you some weak spots, some areas you need to clean up.
Did you see the stat where we rushed the quarterback 3% of the time, but yet we're 50% in pressure or something like that?
I did not.
We are bottom of the totem pole when it comes to rushing the quarterback. Yet we're middle of the pack when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. We've only blitzed. It came out today. One of
Was
the
that a PFF? Was that a PFF?
No, Ryan, I don't know. I heard it on this station, but I don't remember their source.
Okay.
I want to say the first time I heard it this morning, I was actually listening to Martin Houston. So you might want to shoot him a text.
Okay, well, he'll be coming up at 4:00, so we'll ask him about that. So what was the stat again
Alabama only rushes the quarterback 3% of the time, but have pressure on the quarterback 50% of the time.
Okay. I got it.
I believe it's the stat.
I will ask him about it.
Which tells me those 4 butt kickers, as Coach Womack put it, are doing their job. Because he's the one that Coach Womack is the one that said that we haven't showed a lot of the plays.
He did last Monday. So if you're Georgia, how do you prepare for that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said if you're Georgia.
I don't know that you can. I don't know. You maybe look at what Kane Womack tape. I mean, he was the head coach at South Alabama. Wasn't he the defensive coordinator at Indiana at one time?
He was.
You may even look at his dad. I mean, he runs his dad's.
He does.
His dad's
Swarm deep. I'll read it to you. Ryan, I enjoy your comments and insight on your show and have been listening for about 5 years. Thank you. Most of your, I think he says guests, but most of your quest and callers have knowledgeable comments and add a lot to the show. But today at 2:55, almost 1 hour into your September the 23rd show with the Georgia Bulldogs coming to town, all you can talk about is Auburn losing. Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I think we've been a little bit mixed here. We've asked every caller today about their confidence going into this Alabama-Georgia game. So we'll ask Barrett Sallee to break down this Alabama-Georgia game, but we'll also reflect a little bit. But Stephen, I won't read your last name, but Enterprise, Alabama. So, Stephen, we're sorry to disappoint. We'll get back to Alabama, Georgia. Barrett Sallee, Smothered and Covered, Sirius XM, Channel 84. Barrett, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
I'm doing great, Ryan. And, Stephen, I will point out that Auburn did lose to Arkansas.
Well, based on this guy's email, I think he's an Auburn fan. So I think he is probably a little bit upset at us, but that's okay. So
that was flat out comedic. I saw this stat, Ryan. Like I had to look it up like 10 times to actually make sure that it's real.
Okay. Which stat?
Do you know that Auburn is ranked 6th nationally in yards per play?
Whoa.
8.03. Like I was like, there's no way that's true. Turns out it is.
That one will grab you a little bit.
I mean, it is. I mean, if you want to know just how awful those turnovers, think about what would have happened if they weren't a turnover like factory. Just cut those turnovers in half. 8.03 yards per play. That's insane.
So Barrett, but it didn't happen, and
right.
We're talking because we were talking about this late last week that this was a must-win for Auburn to meet the expectations of Vegas when we started the win total 6.5, 7.5, depends on what sports book you went out there and looked. That they needed to win this game. They didn't win it. How tough is this road to get back to even being 6-6 from your perspective?
It's going to be tough. I think it's when you have quarterback play as bad as it is, it's hard. But here's the thing, and a lot of people have focused on the quarterbacks, and they haven't been great. But the drops are more concerning to me because the receivers are getting open. That was a big problem last year. They weren't getting open. The receivers are getting open. They're just dropping the ball, right? So, a couple of those picks for Warren in the Cal game, his pick against Arkansas in the second half, those are not his fault, right? Like, they're not his fault. So that, to me, they just have to get – those two things just have to get marginally better. If they're averaging 8.03 yards per play, just get a little bit better in catching the ball. That's it. That's all they got to do. And that's easier said than done. It's just easier said than done. And I think that's what's frustrating Freeze, and I think that's what's frustrating, Auburn's fans, is that like the fixes were obvious going into the season, right? Fix the offensive line and get receivers that can get open. And they significantly upgraded their wide receiving core because they are getting open. And the offensive line's just a little bit better. So the plan's working. In theory, it's working, but it's not showing with success on the field. It's utterly frustrating, and I get the anger. And I don't know. I've never seen a team like this before. I've never seen a team like this before where they can be so good offensively and so bad offensively at the same time.
Bear, let's go back to Hugh Freeze's post-game comments. How did you take them? Obviously, there's been a lot of reaction to what Bo Wallace said, but also a lot of reaction from a national perspective. I was listening to Channel 84 earlier today and listening to Chris Childers and Rick Neuheisel kind of share some thoughts about it, and listening to other analysts. What's your reaction?
I'm totally fine with him calling out his players. I don't, it's one of the, and I put this on the Smothered and Covered podcast today. They're adults. They're not kids. They're adults. Hank Brown and Peyton Thorne know they screwed up. Hank Brown knows he threw 3 interceptions in the first half. Peyton Thorne knows he was a turnover machine against Cal. Like, why beat around the bush? These are adults. They can handle it. And the thing about it, in our line of work, right, and fans in general too, we get kind of sick of coach speak, right? it's like you're moving your lips, but you're not really telling us anything. Okay, well, then Hugh Freeze actually tells us something and is honest and doesn't give us coach speak and just tells us something that we all know anyway, and we're mad about that. You can't really have it both ways, right? So, if those players didn't know that he was upset with them, then that's one thing. They know exactly what's going on, and they're professionals. They're not amateurs, and they're adults. So I'm totally fine with it. I'm actually flabbergasted that people are upset about it. Now, I think the part of the reason they're upset about it is because of the Bo Wallace comments, and the two subjects are sort of going together. And this is in my Outkick story today. No problem with him calling out his players. They need to stop fumbling. They need to stop throwing picks. There's no doubt about that. The part with Bo saying that he took a lot of drugs to get ready and all that stuff. Okay, like we know that happened, but we don't know the extent of how it happened, and specifically with Hugh Freeze's programs. That should be explored. And I'm a firm believer that there are three sides to every story, right? Hugh's going to deny it. We know what Bo says, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's fine. Is there an abuse of that? Is there something that is unhealthy, something that is detrimental to players' health? We don't know, but that's something that should be explored, and that's the concerning part of it.
Barrett, when you look at this, let's take a best case scenario for this Auburn Tiger team, because this was supposed to be a 4-0 start. It's not. It's 2-2. How do you get to 6 wins? Do you see them in a maybe a half full perspective of getting to 6 wins?
It's I think it's still possible. And like I said, I thought on Saturday night I thought it was impossible because it just was such a bad game. But if they can cut out the turnovers, there's a win over Vanderbilt. Kentucky's not much. There's a win over ULM. Could they beat Texas A&M at home? Sure. Could they beat Oklahoma this week with the quarterback situation that Oklahoma has? Sure. I think the thing about it, Ryan, is the defense has been spectacular, right? So that defense is going to keep you in a lot of games. That if you're going to say, if you ask me to do a half glass half full, the defense is great. The offense is moving the ball successfully when they're not turning it over. So cut out the turnovers, and yeah, they can win some games. There's no doubt they can win some games. But it's hard to have glass half full right now.
All right, because Steve is pounding at his computer. So, Steve, in your honor, we'll go to Alabama and Georgia, and we'll look ahead to this game. Barrett, look ahead to this game. What jumps out to you as you begin to preview the Dogs and the Crimson Tide?
I think the one thing is the road. The fact that Georgia's on the road again, and last time we saw him on the road, it didn't go so well. Was that a byproduct of just Kirby being conservative? Was it just one of those days for Georgia? We don't know the answer to that. Being a night game certainly is not helping, especially in a hostile environment. And I think that, Michael Williams might not play for Georgia. That's a huge deal as well. So there are a lot of things for Georgia that you have to be concerned about. On the Alabama side, the offensive line was a lot better against Wisconsin. But even without Williams, this is a really tough front seven for Georgia. So how do you attack that if you're Alabama? Do you regress facing a defensive front that's by far the best you've ever played, even without Williams, at least this season? Those are the things I'm kind of looking at. The fact that Jalen Milroe and Kalen DeBoer, like that offense and that marriage has seemingly grown through 3 games, and now they have a bye week. That's huge because we can sit here and talk about how great of a coach Kalen DeBoer was before he got the Alabama job and how brilliant of an offensive mind he has been throughout his career. He's still in game 4 with the starting quarterback who's ultra dynamic, and he knows what works and what doesn't now. So I'm fascinated to see what they build upon because the foundation is pretty darn strong right now anyway.
Yeah, when you look at this Georgia team, is this one better or the equal to when you look at last year's football team? Because we've been kind of analyzing it from a lot of different perspectives, but how would you compare this year's Georgia to last year's Georgia?
I don't think they're as good. That doesn't say they can't be better, but right now they're not as good. You know, they don't have Ladd McConkey. Oscar Delp is not Brock Bowers. Michael Williams being hurt is a big deal. So we haven't really seen how good they can be. You know, for where they are right this very second, you know, it's a step back. But I think moving forward, yeah, they can get to that point. I think not having Ladd McConkey, not having Brock Bowers, those are two guys that you can't really replace immediately. But, you know, you can find ways to work around them, find ways to make your, you know, this offense different and see where it goes from there. So, you know, yeah, it's a step back, but, you know, a step back for Georgia is not necessarily a huge deal.
Bear, if you look at this game, and I know it's Monday, but if I ask you for a prediction, where would you go?
Oh, I'm going Alabama. I think it's going to be a great game, but I'm going Alabama. I think Milroe finds a way to get it done in the fourth quarter. I think for Georgia, it is a more hostile, and it's the most hostile environment Carson Beck will ever be in. I still don't necessarily trust Georgia's running backs. Trevor Etienne's good. Is he a 1A? Is he an alpha? You know, usually Georgia has the Todd Gurley, Keith Marshall, or, you know, Nick Chubb, Caleb King. And you know, I don't think anybody on that roster at running back is truly like the 1A. So I think Alabama gets the job done.
All right. If that's the case, you live in that state. What will be the conversation next week? I mean, when you fire up SiriusXM and you're talking to the Dog fans, what will be their complaint? Many, but what will be the number one conversation?
It will be that Alabama has Georgia's number. You know, I think at this point, you know, the not the shine from the national championship game, you know, in 21 has worn off, but, you know, I think there's a feeling around here where Alabama is just a buzzsaw. And, you know, sometimes you can avoid it, but it's just, that they're frustrated that they can't consistently beat them. And that's, I think, going to be exacerbated a little bit because Saban's gone. So I think that would be it. It's honestly like I know this is not a baseball show, but it's like the Braves getting knocked out by the Phillies 2 straight years in the playoffs. It's like, oh, okay, we won in that World Series, but we got to deal with this crap again. You know, it's kind of the same thing.
And that's the topic. When you look ahead to the Georgia, if you look at their schedule, okay, so let's just paint a hypothetical and say that your prediction is correct. Let's say they lose to Alabama. Then they play Auburn at home. They play Mississippi State at home, but then they have to load the buses and go to Texas the middle of October. They've got Ole Miss. Where does this team end up?
You know, if they lose to Alabama, you know, you're looking at a situation where they may not make the SEC championship game, right? Because, you know, Texas and Ole Miss both are very good. They've got, you know, Tennessee is so far been incredible. So the margin for error is not as thin, and the challenge is just massive down the stretch. I mean, we all sit here and talk about Florida's schedule and how tough it is, right? Georgia's ain't much easier, right? It's just because it's Georgia that we haven't talked about it. So if they lose to Alabama, there's a real shot they don't make the SEC championship game. With that said, does it really matter? Because they still might make the playoff and certainly would get the benefit of the doubt if there's a debate between Georgia and anybody else.
Barry, a lot of people listen to you on SiriusXM. I just got a message. Someone listens to you every single day. It's like a tradition for your Sunday recap. Or promote everything that you're involved in. SiriusXM Channel 84 on Sunday mornings. But other than that, Outkick, Smothered and Covered, a daily podcast covering the needs and fulfilling those needs of college football. Tell me more about everything that you're involved in.
Yeah, you can sign up, subscribe, set notifications for college football Smothered and Covered. It's on YouTube. It's on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all those places. If you know how to do the YouTube thing or the podcast thing, it's there. It's everywhere, and we're every day. I think we're going to have Eli Drinkwitz on tomorrow, so that should be a lot of fun. Ooh. And Gus Malzahn later in the week. They play Colorado. I don't know if you've heard about this Colorado team. They kind of have a high profile these days. And then Outkick, got a story up about Hugh Freeze today. And then SiriusXM on Sunday mornings, myself and Tom Luganville recapping the action.
I wonder if Auburn had it to do all over again, would they really fire Gus?
No. But they can hire his clone, Rhett Lashley, if they want to.
I mean, I know, you look at Gus's record. I mean, when you look at Kirby's record this week against Alabama, those are records against Nick Saban. Even though we say Alabama, he's 1-5. Gus was 3-5 against Nick Saban. I know he lost games that he shouldn't have lost, but he was 3-5 against Nick Saban. Who else had that type of record? One game away from being 500.
Yeah, I mean, when the floor for Auburn is 7-5, and that's kind of where it was for Gus. Maybe you could say even 8-4, or just 8 wins, including a bowl win. I think they'd take that right now.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. But in the sake of not getting any more negative emails, I'm going to stick with Alabama, Georgia. And we've played Kalen DeBoer nonstop, but maybe he went to the bathroom, Darren. Steve, we apologize. But Barrett, thank you, man.
Well, thanks, Ryan. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Oh, you are? You're headed out. Hold on a minute. Whoa. Okay, so you're one of the lucky ones because Barrett, I get these emails like I can really do something about it. Like, I mean, I had a major brand reach out to me and said, hey, we got turned down credentials. I'm like, well, I have nothing to do with credentials. I mean, I have nothing to do with credentials. I have nothing to do with credentials. But I had a major brand, I'm not going to say their name, but they reached out to me and said, hey, can you help us? I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, here, I got 3 credentials in my pocket. And basically the rebuttal was, we're full. We're full.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't like, we're not going to decline you. It's just, we are full. And, a couple of years ago when they reduced the press box size, that kind of hurt.
You know what? You got to get that luxury suite money.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And are you sitting in Trump's box? Is that what I've been told?
Yes. No.
Hey, we had Alabama fans. We did a question late last week, and we asked if you would sit in Trump's box if he offered it to you, like 2 extra seats. We had people turning it down.
It's the safest place. Well, even with the Secret Service, it's the safest place on earth. This will be the 4th time I've been in a football game where he's been there, 5th overall in terms of athletic event. Those are interesting. They're interesting days when those people are around, when the Secret Service is roaming around everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and the one that's a little bit crazy is all the snipers that's throughout Bryant-Denny Stadium, like position, because I'll get photos of people looking. They'll walk by and they'll see a sniper. I mean, it's just it's something you don't see at a stadium with a guy with a sniper rifle, zooming the crowd. It's just not something you see. And
I was at LSU Clemson. I was in the press box, and above us there's like the tiles, like the ceiling tile things that everyone has. When he left, we didn't know when he left, but when he did leave, the ceiling tiles opened up, and 2 dudes with long guns just basically fell out of the ceiling and walked off with.
Dude, are you? Wow!
I was like, what?
You guys were up there the entire time?
They were. It was. I was like, it was. I was so confused.
They're listening to every word we say. Even when you've got your iPhone on the no listen mode, they're there. They're there. Hey, Barrett, I'll see you this weekend, man. Thanks so much. AlabamaCU.com. Checking, savings, mortgage, home equity loan, financing a vehicle. Alabama Credit Union with great branches throughout the state of Alabama. You can also find Tuscaloosa Toyota on Scotland Boulevard at 1.99 APR for $36 with a $2,000 loyalty cash. If you're looking for a Tacoma 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, 3.99 APR for $36 with a $1,500 loyalty cash. Camry, the 3.99 APR for $36. That is the 2025 that averages over 50 miles per gallon. Right now, we're going to break down the weekend. We're going to ask Martin about the stat that you guys wanted me to ask him about. Martin Houston, 1992 national champion winning fullback at the University of Alabama. Hey, Martin, I hope you had a great week. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
I'm glad to be in the game, Ryan.
All right, Martin, we've 2 hours in, and we're going to talk Alabama and Georgia, definitely, because we're getting people that want us to talk about that, but we're also talking about this Auburn crowd. As a former player, did you take what Hugh Freeze said as taking shots at his players?
I haven't posted it yet, but I have a post that I was going to drop out there because it seems to be a big topic. Which one was most embarrassing, Hugh Freeze or Brian Kelly? what they did, what they both have done early in the season is shameful for a leader. It was so bad, Ryan, what Hugh Freeze did Saturday. It would be bad if he had just thrown the quarterbacks under the bus, but when he threw the running back under the bus too.
That's where Martin draws the line. He says, man, you throw the quarterback under the bus. He always gets the praise and the criticism, but you better not touch my running back buddies.
Well, I mean, it wasn't like the running back had 5 fumbles this year. You know what I mean? Like and he didn't acknowledge that he has the leading rusher probably in the SEC right now. And he just used the running backs and said, and it wasn't the starter that fell. He didn't say, we're going to have to find backup running backs. He just said, we're going to have to find running backs that can hold on to the ball. And if I'm Hunter, I'm going, what have I done? You stopped using me. I was having success, and you wanted to prove that you could pass the ball. So I think it was bad enough losing number 2 with the schedule they have coming up, Ryan. But you talk about losing a locker room, Auburn will do good to win 4 games this year.
Ooh, all right.
And I'm not.
So you think his locker room will turn on him? Is what you're saying?
Oh yeah. And not only will this locker room turn on him, Ryan. They had a quarterback recruit that was there. They were trying to woo Caleb Cunningham away from Alabama. The recruits and all that. If I'm a parent, I'm looking at that and going, wow. This guy is gonna throw my son under the bus the first chance he gets. Ryan, but you look at their schedule, Ryan. Vanderbilt and ULM. Do you think they'll be favored against Oklahoma?
I'm not sure they can be. No. Well, they're not favored. Yeah, they're an underdog there. So that's a loss. Georgia's on the road. That's a loss.
Missouri.
No, on the road in Columbia. No, that's a loss.
Kentucky. On
the road, that's a loss.
Because by the time they get to Kentucky, they will be 2-5.
Whew. Woo. Who else will he blame?
Okay, and then they play Vanderbilt, and with what Vanderbilt did to Missouri
on the road in Columbia, they could go to Lee County because the stadium at that point will be checked out. The crowd won't be into it. So,
ULM.
That's a win, even worst case.
Yep. And what they have Alabama,
Texas A&M at home, and then Alabama here in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. You're right.
So, I'm not. That was not meant to be an ugly statement. I mean, ooh.
Well, but see, here's the part that the portal give, but the portal take away. Because coming out of spring, if you didn't think you had a quarterback, then go get you one.
Yeah, but he went all in on.
He did.
On Thorne,
and so did the fan base.
All in. You can't go all in on a guy and bench him after 1 week. Then go all in on another guy and bench him after 1 week. And then blame him in the media. Here's the question I have, Ryan. Remember they were supposed to have, 4 freshman receivers that were supposed to be all-world?
They were.
Right? And let's say Brown is a really good quarterback. I mean, you run the risk right now. If you play Thorne the rest of the year, Brown's gone. Potentially.
Oh man, what a pickle! What a pickle! I mean, they are in a dilemma. Ooh, that's rough.
And then, what do you think is going to happen to those wide receivers if they don't get on the field this year?
Later, have fun.
Okay, especially when they look across the state and see what a 17-year-old did.
Well, I bet Ryan Williams is thinking, oh, man, I'm glad Kalen DeBoer sold me on Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. Well, did you hear what he said? Have you heard? Did you listen to his interview
with
on Friday?
You mean
on his own podcast?
On his own podcast. I saw him talking about rushing the field. That they wanted him to rush the field last year. Is that the comment?
Was that his podcast or was that?
Yeah, it was his podcast. That was his podcast.
After practice.
No, it was his podcast. That was his own podcast with him and Jalen Mbakwe.
This was a bunch of interview questions.
Okay.
Not a podcast.
Okay. This must have been different. Okay.
And they asked him, when did he make a decision? And the irony of it, Ryan, he watched the Texas-Washington game with his coach. And he told his coach, ooh, what could I do in an offense like that? Paraphrasing. Wouldn't it be fun to play in an offense like that? Let that sink in for a second. He said he pretty much was coming back to Tuscaloosa the moment the plane landed, they called him. And he was pretty much back in at that point, but he let it play out.
Yeah.
But the point was he saw that offense against Texas and said, ooh, it'd be fun to play in that offense. And then that ended up being his coach. So, but yeah, like I said, I know we want to talk Alabama and Georgia, but I would not be surprised if Perry Thompson doesn't try to get back across the state. And they're in trouble down on the plain.
Yeah, and that recruiting class that's currently ranked, we're dominating the state, all this stuff, that stuff will go away quickly. Because it really is, it gives your program momentum, but when you have this type of season or this type of season that's expected, when you're 2-2 and you've got 2 losses against teams you're not supposed to lose to, and you may not even be bowl eligible, good luck. So now at this point, do they make up another scandal and try to get this coach fired, or do they just pay? I mean, that's a real question. So, Martin, let's go back to Alabama. When you look at this Alabama-Georgia, what are keys to victory in your mind for Alabama to get the job done?
Well, first of all, everything in the leadership, they say everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on the O-line, D-line. And so I think our D-line, our offensive line, has to protect, has to give Jalen some room to operate. We saw that when he has time, Jalen Milroe is an improved passer. If he doesn't have time, he's going to go to his legs, and that's not all bad. But I want to see him have time and then be able to call plays. So offensive line needs to be dominant, and then I would say defensive line has to make Beck uncomfortable. I have yet to see Beck win a where he has to be a baller, and it's on him. He misses Brock Bowers, he misses McConkey. He doesn't have those guys, and so their run game was non-existent against Kentucky. So I think you will see, and this is Martin thinking out loud, Ryan, because I just don't see the wide open offense at Georgia. So I think you may see some true 4-down linemen with Latham and LT Overton out there at the same time to help with the run game. Because if we can get that run game out of there, I think that Alabama has a legit shot. So that would be the big thing. And then no wide open guys running behind our DBs would be the next step.
We were just talking about this with Barrett Sallee a couple of minutes ago about Georgia being a better.
That's my favorite person.
It's one of the reasons why we feature him, Martin, is because of you and many others here in Tuscaloosa. Highly recommended. So when you look at Georgia from last year,
Ryan, I was being sarcastic, right?
Oh, you were? Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe everybody else is too when they brag on him. But I get so many kind words with Barrett. He's just a very highly popular guest here in Tuscaloosa. Highly recommended. But we were talking about Georgia being a lesser team, but you could flip that around and you could say, well, Alabama's a much better team. Now, they don't have Nick Saban as the head coach, but they have Kalen DeBoer. But in the ways that you look at Georgia, they were a much better team than they were last year than they are currently.
I would say so. They're thin on the defensive line, so they don't have a lot of depth there. They have on the defense side of the ball, they have a couple of good guys, but they don't have any like these are dogs, literally that strikes fear. Very talented, but fairly young and not a lot of depth. Offensive line, Ryan, here's what I found interesting. You know how we always say it, but I don't know if we always necessarily believe it, and sometimes it's just media radio speak. But chemistry with the O-line, Georgia only lost their center. They brought in a really, really good center, and you would think that unit would have been dominant, right? Because they brought back 4 really good guys from last year. But the reality of it is they were not great before, and now they've lost Ratliff, who and that's his name, Ratledge, who was their best offensive lineman. And so I'm not sure that they have the big horses up front. And losing Bowers, I'm telling you, that is a quarterback safety blanket, and he was one heck of a safety blanket. And McConkey was his go-to receiver. Who are those guys now? I just don't think they're the same level as what they've been, and I think they got some. I think they're good. Don't get me wrong, and they definitely could come in here and beat Alabama. But I don't see this as the Georgia teams of the old. Sort of like what we've been saying about Alabama. Remember what we were saying about Alabama, Ryan? That the last couple of teams, even though they made it farther, they weren't as good as some of the prior teams.
We did. Mo, I mean, I think we're still saying it about last year's team. And you're saying that team beat Georgia there and put a roadblock in front of them. And so, to me, I think Alabama's in a better position. I mean, the game's at home. I mean, that should help as long as the weather, gets out of here and we're not, it's not a crazy field conditions. Who knows what that would advantage. But let me take it from the other side. Let's go to Wisconsin for just a couple of minutes. Alabama gave up some big rushes. If Georgia's sold out to that, is that something that you should be concerned about?
Yes. I think that if you watch the run game, if there's been a weakness on this team, I think it has been sometimes our play against the run. And Wisconsin had some big runs, and it made me kind of think, how would they address that, Ryan? And that's why I said what I said earlier about don't be surprised if that's one of the things that Womack hasn't rolled out. It was seen in the spring a little bit. It was a couple times, I think, where they had those guys out there at the same time. And that's a pretty stout, front. And then if you take the fact that Quay Rustal is out, I think it's very possible that, you could see some, 4-down linemen with Q Robinson in there a little bit and maybe moving down to make that 5th lineman at times, because I don't know that Georgia has any 5 wide receiver sets that would scare us the way some of these other teams do. So that would be my adjustment. I think we have to get a little bigger, but that would be my concern, right? If Georgia's able to run the ball, then it changes everything, because it gives Beck play action pass, and it gives them, more options.
And you mentioned Alabama, and looking at statistically speaking, rushing defense in the SEC, understanding they've played Western Kentucky, South Florida, which, by the way, looked presentable in the first half against Miami and then kind of let it drift away in the second half. Played Wisconsin on the road. They're still right now 14th out of 16 teams in the SEC. They give up 132 yards per game. And if you want to look at it from an average perspective, that number jumps up a little bit. So they're up to number 11, but they still give up over 3.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, and I'm not as worried about the 14th ranking because I can go back and look, Ryan, and go, okay, South Florida, Western Kentucky got their rushing yards late in the game. They had nothing until late in the game. And then South Florida has a running quarterback who did damage. Georgia doesn't bring that threat to the table. So now you go to Wisconsin, and that's why I was saying that Wisconsin would be what I saw against Wisconsin would be what I would address. I'm not as worried. Like I'm not as worried about the I'm not as worried except for Wisconsin style. Here's the question though, Ryan. We sometimes as fans look at the total stat. How many times in those games did the teams have to go 12 plays or 20 plays or 15 plays, and that was the drive that they had the most rushing yards in the game? That's happened in all three games where the teams had double-digit drives, but they also went for it on fourth down in those drives because of the desperation of the situation.
Hey, Martin, let me pay. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Literally, if you average 3 yards a run, you got a first down every fourth play, and that's where when we've been ahead, I think we've had some teams go for it, which have extended drives, made long drives, and ended up pushing up the stats. And then you take out Alabama's longest drive against the opponent that they gave up defensively, and then see how much the averages change if you remove that one drive.
Hey, Martin, I'm very limited right here with time right here because I'm up against this break, but there was a stat that somebody brought up that wanted me to kind of follow back up with you. Bama rushes 3% of the time but gets pressure 50% of the time or something of that. Something you used a stat this morning on your show that Bama rushes 3% of the time, but then they get pressure on the quarterback 50% of the time. It was a stat that you shared?
It wasn't. I didn't use it, and I don't remember the exact number, but Kennington Smith was talking about it. So far, Alabama has not had to rush the passer in terms of blitzing. They've not had to blitz, but they're one of the top pressure teams in the nation.
Okay, got it.
So that's what it was. It was that they are creating a lot of pressure and one of the top ranked pressure teams, but they've not done any blitzing really. We've only blitzed a handful of times, and so that's what we were talking about. That we'll see them do that against Georgia because he's not rolled everything out.
And he said that last week when he said we're probably saving quite a few things. A little bit of a tease. I'm sure that Georgia's trying to guess and go back and scout. I'm sure they've already done that. Martin Houston, let's talk about the show and anything else you want to promote as we end this segment here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thanks. Encourage y'all to join me at 6 a.m. in the morning, Monday through Friday. I appreciate that. But also, hey, listen, had a big career change about 3 months ago. Now I have my own business, Empowerment Strategy and Solutions. And in that, do leadership training, coaching, speaking, as well as got my real estate license to help offset while I build out my speaking, coaching, training business. So you can give me a call at 205-826-1381 if you're looking to list or buy a home. part of Realty One Group. If you can't find me, remember my number. Just remember Realty One Group. And then, Ryan, the other thing, and I'll tell more about this the next time, is I have invested in the Live to Lead event, and I'll be bringing it to Tuscaloosa to give back to the community to kick off my business in December. It's the Live to Lead. It'll have John Maxwell, John Gordon, Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point. And so save that date, 12/3/24. It'll be at the Bryant Conference Center. I'll be giving more information. Go to my Facebook page, Martin Houston Speaks, and you can see some information on all that I just mentioned.
Martin Houston, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you very, very soon.
Appreciate you, Ryan.
Look for the build-up. I'm more confident. I think we have a better offense, and and I think we can score on it.
Sure. All right.
What's going to happen? They're going to try to double team Hollywood, and somebody else is going to be open. I think they're going to unleash the tight ends this weekend, and I think with Milroe's legs, I think if they try to spine, that's going to leave somebody open. So I really like our chances. I didn't think we would win last year simply because who we had as the offensive coordinator. In ways the offensive line have been playing most of the year. So I'm more confident.
All right.
I really am.
Well, there you go.
And by the way, you committed a personal foul or unsportsmanlike conduct foul over the weekend.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you had everybody believe you were so sick you couldn't come to work, and you just load up and go down to the beach.
Let me tell you, when you already had a prepaid condo, you don't not go to the beach, dude. I was sick as the first 4 meals that I had down there were all carry-out meals.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think I ate my first meal in a restaurant until Saturday, but I did slip down to the beach. I did. But it's no fun when you're at the beach and not feeling very well. But I was already prepaid, so what do I got to do? Tell them no?
But you might as well go then.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like me. I've been deer hunt with 103 temperature before.
Well, no, I'm not that, and I didn't have a temp. I probably sounded a lot worse than I felt. But I was able to enjoy. I was able to enjoy a little beach time on Saturday. Got a little beach time. I appreciate Kaylin Moore for giving us an off day. But I did. I slipped down.
I had to pick at you a little bit. So.
Well, you need to go down to the beach.
Well, I do. I need to find. Yeah, I do need to go. I don't want to go by myself. I got to find me a woman. I'm still working on that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
I can help you out, Bubba.
Yeah, Jackson can help you find a woman. What are you looking for?
Okay.
I mean, give me some.
Well, she has to be a Christian for one thing.
Okay.
That's the number one.
So she needs to be a Christian. Okay.
Anywhere from
are you a blonde or brunette or what's your?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Is there an age range you're looking for? Because I probably have the younger audience.
52 to 65.
52. All right.
I may have some church
are you
friends.
already on any of the dating apps, Bubba?
Yeah, I'm on one.
Okay.
I just haven't really tried anything else.
Okay.
I'm trying to find somebody local if I can.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're local on that too, aren't they? I mean,
I know. I'm working on it. Working on it.
So I mean, what's the sales pitch, Bubba? I mean, give me the strengths behind Bubba. Like if you're putting up your bio, I mean, do you like romantic walks in the park? Or I mean, what's the?
I do. I'm a very romantic person, affectionate.
Okay.
And I'm a godly man with a big heart.
Okay.
So,
okay, godly man with a big heart that likes romantic walks in the park.
Mm-hmm.
And likes to go to the beach, but didn't want to go by himself.
That's true. That's true. Well, okay.
Jackson,
I'll find somebody.
I mean,
he's got some ideas.
I have some ideas. You know, there's always the Golden Bachelor, which is a new thing now.
What?
The Golden Bachelor, the show, The Bachelor. They're now doing their. excuse me,
Bubba,
senior citizen version.
Senior citizen version
called
of
the Golden Bachelor.
I mean, Bubba would be. I mean,
I'm 60, so.
Okay.
I'm considered.
So okay, like all right. So let's go through this. I mean, because you never know. I mean, we've connected people together before. Like, what would be the first date that you would carry them to?
Probably to the new Southern Ale House restaurant.
So you can't go wrong there. And if you're able to, we're not really fast movers, but I will tell you that. I got amazing bread pudding this week. Strawberry white chocolate pecan bread pudding. Now, Bubba, if we can get something worked out between now and Saturday, if you could be able to score some of that strawberry white chocolate bread pudding, Bubba, you wouldn't have to worry about all these characteristics.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean,
plus, I'm a good cook. A very good cook.
Okay, you're very good.
I would make a good housewife.
Okay. Do you do cleaning?
I do cleaning. I do laundry. I do it all.
Okay.
I bake.
And, okay. I mean, Bubba, we've got a pretty good starting point.
He has to be an Alabama fan, for one. No bugs. No bugs.
No bugs?
I refuse to go down there.
Oh, bugs. I'm sorry. I was like, bugs. I was like, no crabs? Okay, well, that was to start with. I thought Bubba was going to take us down that avenue. Okay, so no bugs. Okay.
No bugs.
And you don't want crabs either, so that's a, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, maybe we better stop right now. I'm getting embarrassed, so.
Now, Bubba, that may be part of your problem because you got to sound confident. You got to have confidence when you're going after these ladies. I mean, they want to see, they don't want a beta. They want an alpha. I mean, women
they want a Bubba.
Yeah, and
they want a Bubba.
Yeah, and now you don't have a Kamala shirt on, do you, or anything? I mean, you don't.
No, I'm a Trump guy all the way.
Okay, yeah. Because listen, women don't want you to. They don't want to. They want an alpha. They don't want to. They don't want a beta.
I was actually. I ain't gonna mention the name. I was actually talking to somebody, and she said she was voting for her, and I said we're done, and I hung up the phone.
You're my type of guy. See, Bubba, that may not have paid off with her, but it'll pay off with your next one.
I bet you she wants you even more now, Bubba.
She probably does. No, I mean. You better have those DMs closed off. She may try to slip back in.
They want what they can't have.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why, guys?
I'm more confident now than last year, too. They don't have no Brock Powers or any, you'd watch like Mahomes in Kansas City. He's got Kelsey right there as a safety valve or big tight end. They don't have that. And Kentucky showed us a lot. What we can do too, and like I said, we haven't showed all our defensive things. We'll have some people come out of the D-back position free and knock that quarterback down, and he'll put 5 in the box, and they won't be able to block them.
Okay.
Because we got better assistant coaches now than last year, and they're all coached up, and that defense is a lot better than last year.
Hey, Marty, would you give Bubba any advice on how to land a lady?
I'm not the one he needs to go talk to Kit Kat or Karen at one of
in other words, get ladies' advice on how to get a lady. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, well, he can go to their tailgate. Kit Kat has a nice one. A lot of people there.
Well, I mean, they're taken. So.
I know they are, but they have friends at the tailgate party. Go to the tailgate party and introduce yourself. And Karen or Kit Kat got so many friends that they could hook them up. I don't have me living in Arkansas. I can't.
Well, I'm not asking you for a woman. I'm asking for advice that you can give to Bubba.
Well, the dating site's pretty good, but
the dating site.
I don't know.
Jackson, have we had anybody call so far? The phone lines are jammed, but I mean, have anybody called? No, looking for Bubba. No.
We've got a couple app messages actually.
Oh, we do. Okay, we do. Okay, well, we'll get to those in a couple of minutes. So maybe there's. Does anybody have any extra Georgia?
Some girl might call in,
if we've got any extra Georgia.
What age did he say?
Under 90.
Under 90. Okay. Yeah. I don't. Other than that, or just I don't know, just get.
If anybody had any extra Georgia or Alabama tickets, I'm telling you, we could get him a date. If we only had one pair of these, that would get him
a date.
Yeah,
that would get him a date, but I don't know if that would get.
It might not find love.
Just to go to the game.
Yeah, but it would get
that would get her to the game, and then afterwards she might drop him. There's where I wouldn't go that route because she would go just to go.
Oh, she just use him. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to get Bubba used. Yeah, we don't want to do that. All right.
No gold diggers for Bubba.
Yeah, none.
Yeah,
none.
No gold
and you know how those women are. They're always looking for the pot of gold.
Ryan, one thing, the Cal College, they're only going to win one more game.
Okay.
They're only going to win one more game, and that's the ULM game because the team, even Vanderbilt's going to beat them by that time. And Vanderbilt ain't playing that bad.
So now hold on, Marty. Let's go to Arkansas because you got a lot of Arkansas buddies.
Yeah, they were pretty happy.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
They were pretty happy, but they want to beat the A&Ms because they haven't. They dominated it when they were in the South Carolina Conference, and that they think that's if he can win that, then they think the team's on the right track. But they still think they only can win 6 or 7 games.
I got you. I like Sam Pittman. His attitude was pretty positive after the game. So,
well, they got a pretty good quarterback. Their quarterback's pretty good, and they got a good running. That running back's good too. It just, I don't know. Sam Pittman's supposed to be an offensive line guy, but that offensive line is not what you think it would be. Sam Pittman being an offensive line guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, you're right. Right.
There's where, but they still got some tough games to play. They still I think you could go from number 5 down to number 9 in the SEC and throw them in a bag, shake it around, and pull them out and say this team will beat this team. Because I don't think there's any really dominant team. Even Texas, I don't think is dominant. But Oklahoma some of them don't have a good enough quarterback play. If Oklahoma would have had some quarterback play, they might have beat that no good UT team.
All right.
But there's where some teams that don't have no quarterback play, and I think we can rattle if we can get them on early and get to the fourth quarter where they play Dixieland, the lights, and those lights going around red. They're gonna look so dizzy they won't be able to walk out on the field.
I agree.
But Ron, there's only one team that can jump from number 4 and number 5 all the way to number 1, and that's Digger's team.
Okay. All right.
And they did it. They did it to Alabama. The AP polls always screwed Alabama.
Yeah. I gotta run, Marty.
Well, you see my videos every week when T-Town puts up my music and my dance moves and get all these women commenting, and my eyes, it puts them to sleep when they mesmerize them.
Okay.
You see what T-Town puts up every week?
I see it. So what advice would you give to Bubba?
Well, I've been thinking hard.
Okay.
Since Bubba's call, I've been listening thinking hard what advice.
Thank you, Bamanick. Thank you.
First of all, Bubba's call was hilarious. It was funny. But, Bubba, let me tell you this now. I'm giving you some advice.
Okay.
If you want to meet a woman that likes you, go to church.
Okay,
you want to find a woman that loves you, go to a lounge, restaurant lounge. The women there love people. They love you.
Okay, so if you want one that loves you, go to the lounge. If you want one that likes you, go to the...
Just go to church.
Go to church. Okay.
You got a better chance in the lounge than you do at church, Bubba.
Okay.
Trust me, fella.
And then put the trogs on the CD.
It works for me.
Yeah, put the trogs on the CD, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I can tell Bubba. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how Bubba looks. I don't know what his facial features are. I don't know how fat he is. I don't know. I mean, if he's skinny or...
I mean, Bubba will go 350.
Oh, Lord, Bubba, you better... Bubba, you better go to wrestling matches. Go to wrestling matches, Bubba. You'll find a lot of 300 pounders out there.
The Jello wrestling.
Yeah. Bubba, 300. If you topping the scales at 300, 350, I don't know what to tell you, my man.
He may be 290.
290. Well, you still better hang out at the wrestling ring.
Okay. All right. So maybe that's where Jared was saying go to the gym.
Well, Jared was right. I mean, Jared had a good call. I listened to it. It was a good call.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's all I can do.
Yeah,
that's all I can do for Bubba. I mean, I don't know what else to tell him.
I mean, we're not miracle workers here, Bama Nick. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I met women. I ain't never met one in church, but I met a lot of them at the lounges and the bars.
Have you ever been to church, Bama Nick?
Yeah, funerals.
Oh, funerals. Okay.
Funerals, I've been to church.
At least he's honest. All right, Bama Nick, let's move to this Georgia game before you get me cackling.
All right, what do you want to know, pal?
What do you think? You feeling pretty confident on Monday before the Georgia game?
Oh, I'm feeling confident on the Tide. I'm feeling confident.
Okay.
And I like that question you asked today, we better off last year or this year? I got to agree with a lot of people. I think I liked it last year. I'm trending to last year's team.
Okay.
I mean, what can I say, fella? We had a better team last year.
Really?
Yeah. Hell, we beat Georgia and FC. That was a
I know, but going into that game,
fella, that was a do or die game.
But be honest. Be honest with me. If I could go back and pull your phone calls from that week, were you more nervous then or more nervous now?
Well, fella, I'm nervous every time Bama plays.
I know. We all are.
That's why that you realize that's whenever I take the parlay picks, I don't ever go with Bama. I always go the other way on other games because they make me nervous. I don't know what they're going to do. That's why I always stay away from the Bama games. But I may be different this week with the parlay picks. I might take Bama because I saw the early line. We're getting 2.5 points, I think. DraftKings has a plus 2.5. I might go with the Tide this week, but your callers have to email me to get my final pick. $25 a hit.
$25, and then how do you get those picks? You call 1-900 Bama Nick? No, what was it?
No, you just email me at bama.nick55@gmail.com. That's all you got to do. Send me an email. Say, Bama Nick, who you like in this game? I said, okay. And I got cash out. I said, well, send me $25. I'll give you the team to take. Hell, I might even give you the score. And so if you want to go over and under, it don't matter.
And repeat that email just for those who didn't get a chance to write it slowly.
Well, you need to write this down, fella. Bama dot. You know what a dot is, don't you, fella?
Yeah, I think so. Period.
Yeah, period. Bama period. Nick, NICK.
Okay.
At Gmail.
Well, I thought there was like a 64 or whatever in there.
Oh, yeah, it is. That's right. I forgot, pal. See, remind me. Keep up with me.
All right, Bama.Nick,
55.
55,
55.
Okay.
That's what the year I was born. Well, all you young ladies out there. At gmail.com.
And how often do you check your email?
Well, every day I get notifications when you're on my phone. If I get an email, I'll check it. Mostly it's from Trump and J.D. Vance and Laura and Don Jr. wanting money.
You've got Trump sending you emails, Bama Nick?
Oh, yeah. Trump, Laura, Vance.
He's talking about the money.
Mike
He's talking about the
Johnson.
fundraisers. He's not talking about like.
Yeah, the fundraiser. You're right. That's right. All they always want money, fella. I'm sure you get them every day too, and everybody else.
No, I'm not signed up. Yeah, I'm. Yeah,
Well, it don't matter, fella. Let me ask you this, fella. I sent you an email. I guess you saw it.
An email?
Yeah, I sent you a message, text, whatever you want to call it. I sent it to your phone number, fella.
Me?
I may be coming. Now, I told you.
Currently, I have 76 messages that I have not responded. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, find the one where Bama Nick sent you one. I sent you two. I think it was Friday. Of course, you was at the beach, so.
10-4 is what it says. One of them says 10-4.
I go down to about.
Might be coming to the game, South Carolina game. Working on details. Kerry Moore and my entourage.
That's right. That's what I was talking to you about last night when I was talking. But I was eating my supper, fella, when you called, and I was eating my collard greens.
I was calling you back, yeah.
Well, you waited 2 days. But I was eating my pigtails, collard greens, cracked and cornbread, and pork roast. I didn't have time to clatter with you too much. Like you do with me when I'm making a call to your show. I got to go, Bama Nick.
Okay.
Well, now what do you think about that? Because you always told me in the past
I
tell you
what, if
I come to Tuscaloosa, you will set me up and my entourage.
Oh no! I mean, I don't have but 3 tickets, but yeah, you are Bama Nick being the number one guy. If you're coming to the South Carolina game, I've got your tickets. You don't have to worry about tickets. I'll take care of it.
What about me and my house, my entourage's housing facilities that night? We'll come up on a Friday.
No, I can't. I don't have any.
You told me you'd put me up at your house. I could come over there at your house and hang out, stay.
I don't even have an extra couch at my house.
Oh, I've seen your house. It's big as Birmingham. So,
That's a lie.
I'm sure you got about 2 or 3 extra bedrooms in there.
No. I live in the same house that I did when my wife and I bought it when we were college kids. So we have not upgraded and no need to.
And Coker, Alabama, with a fenced-in community.
Well, I mean, if you call a rope across the driveway fenced in, then yeah, I guess so.
You got a pond, you got everything. Don't worry about Fowler. Okay, you're going back on what you're telling me. If I ever came to Tuscaloosa, don't worry about Noah.
I've got your tickets. I got your tickets, but I don't.
From Lincoln, you put Paul from Lincoln in the Hyatt down there. You told me when he come down there to be on your show, you put him in a nice motel down there.
I could generally swing tickets, but I don't have any. I mean, I could ask Tommy and Romulus. I mean, he's got a big house.
Well, I mean, that'd be fine. How far does Tommy live from the nearest lounge and Hooters and?
There's Jackie's right by the stadium.
And you told me, Nick, I'll take you to the dock side.
The Southern Ale House. Yeah, I can take care of the tickets in Southern Ale House.
All right. And now let me ask you this, fella.
Okay.
At the dock side over there, can I get a beer, a bourbon and Coke if I want one?
Yeah, they got those.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Okay, fella. We're on. We'll take that.
Okay.
You have a tent,
you come up with me. You come up. My entourage will be two bodyguards and me. That's 3 tickets, fella.
Okay. All right. Well,
if you can come up with 3 tickets.
I got your 3 tickets right now. I mean, you don't have to worry about tickets, okay? Tickets.
All right. I'll call my.
I mean, Bama Nick. I mean, you be now. I wouldn't do it for just anybody, but I mean, if you made it over here for the Georgia game, I might be known to have a few extra tickets.
I can't make it for that,
okay.
fella, because I heard what you said. The going rate on motel rooms are at. Now, ain't no way in hell I can afford that or carry more.
Well, if you got a tent, you can camp in his yard.
Yeah, no, I mean, but you bring. Do you have like a motorhome or a camper or anything? I mean, is it?
No, I don't have a motorhome. I got an SUV, but.
You sound like you got a motorhome.
My people, don't worry about Jackson. I hear you cutting in at Jackson. Look, I mean, I got people that's handling me, and I got people that takes care. My bodyguards and my security people. I got to take care of too when I go on events.
We're going to work on that. Yeah, but you don't make the tickets the least of your worries. We just got to find you a place to stay, and
yeah, because last time I was in Tuscaloosa. And that was to watch a Louisiana Monroe game, and that's been like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was down there in the boondocks and paying $120 a night.
I might be able to put you in Brian Harden's box. I mean, you be in Bamanek. I mean, we could probably put you in the box, air conditioner, feature.
Well, I figured I'd be up there with you. Man, you'd be up there in the press box.
No, we can't do the press box. I mean,
you don't want Bamanek up there with you.
Yeah. Can't do the press box.
Let me think. If I get up there on Friday morning,
Paul. Oh, you come in and sit in the station, and we'll do 4 hours of radio, and yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If I can get up there early enough to get where I can say, okay, Kerry and Mark, let's go down to the station and see Ryan Fowler.
But I mean, you're not even going to take me up on these Georgia tickets. I mean, here I would. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm going to take. I don't want to come to the Georgia game, Fowler. That's too damn much to hit.
Okay, all right. I got to run.
But I'll hit you up on that South Carolina game.
They're your tickets if you want them. They're I have 4 to every game. But
do you?
Yeah, I do.
Well, just reserve me 3, maybe 4. I'll let you know, but I got to work it out with my people.
Okay, all right. We got to roll.
And I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you long before then.
Yeah, we'll plan this. We'll plan this, and if you find a lady for.